Hello, and welcome back to the Singles Society. This is the podcast series where we will be exploring all that is best in singles life, looking at being single through a much more positive lens. Now, if you've already listened to the first couple of episodes, you might have realised we've been talking a lot about self love, about love of friends, and all of those things are incredibly important. One of the real joys of being single is that you have space, you have time in your life to really nurture those other relationships that are so important. However, I do also want to acknowledge alongside that whilst there is a real joy and sense of freedom and creativity in being single, it is also a perfectly valid choice to be looking for a partner. And if that is something that you are interested in, then know that of course that is also wonderful. There's, lots to be gained from having a supportive life partner or indeed a flame if that is what you're looking for at the moment. There's a whole spectrum of what being with somebody might mean to you. So, I wanted to open up space for that conversation a little bit more today. The most important thing is choice, that you are actively choosing what you want from your life, and that you're making these choices from a place of joy, not one of judgment. That is what really makes all the difference. If you are feeling like you need, in very inverted commas, need to be in a relationship because you are feeling pressured by society, by friends, by family, that's not ideally the place that you want to be making that decision from. That is when you may want to sort of step back and try and really take some time for yourself and listen to what you want. And if that's to be single and to enjoy some space to be single, fabulous. More power to you. Make the most of that. However, you may also arrive in a place where you think, I would quite like to date, I'd like a relationship, maybe you want a marriage, maybe you want a family one day. There is no right or wrong, it's just taking some time to reflect on that for yourself. Now, as well as recording these podcasts for you, I also run singles nights. At the time of recording, I run them in Manchester, in Preston, and in York. So there's singles nights popping up all over the UK. And by the time you're listening, it could be that they're in more places still. They are expanding at the moment. And I wanted to let you know today what it is you can expect to see from a singles night. I think that if you have got to a place where you've decided, I'd quite like to meet somebody, and you've then thought, okay, right, how do I do that? What does that look like? Then the first thing perhaps is to look around. Do you know anyone? Is there anybody that you already kind of have in your life that you have chemistry with, that you are interested in exploring that with? And if not, it's how do I expand my social circle? I think it's probably fair to say that most people are somewhat over dating apps at this point and quite frustrated by the reality of what that can be like, and are eager to try and meet people in person as much as possible. And that is very much the motivation behind these singles nights. They are spaces for people to meet and to connect, to find potential partners, but they are also very much about connecting people who are single at a similar age and stage of life in their local area. We work with local independents to host these nights, so they are really embedded within your community. And having that group around you is also incredibly powerful. So, what can you expect from a singles night? Now, there's loads out there, of course, and they're all sort of different, but if you come to one of mine, that is the one I can tell you about most easily. The big thing that I do is what I call a singles night, and I'll explain that to you in just a moment. I do also do speed dating with a twist. So, spoiler, it's slower paced than a regular speed dating essentially, and I will explain that one to you as well. And I also offer singles parties. And again, the reason I've started adding in these different strands is just so that there is space, so that however you want to meet somebody and however whatever style of communication works best for you, there is hopefully an option for you. The one that's probably closest to my heart is the traditional singles nights, because that's the first thing I set up. It's the model that personally I still think is the most effective, and if I were to be able to go to one of my own events, then that is probably what would be my choice. So, the singles nights. When you first arrive, you will be greeted by at least one host, and they will be there to look after you throughout the event. You can then choose to grab a drink if you would like to, either alcoholic or non-alcoholic, and we will get you seated, normally in a table of between 6 and 8 people, roughly. What we're basically going for is a big enough group that it doesn't feel really intense. There's multiple people to chat and listen and do the conversation, but it's not an overwhelming number of people to meet in one go. So we'll get you seated in a table of somewhere between 6 to 8 people. And in front of you when you arrive will be some conversation cards. So these little hygge, Danish word for cozy, hygge conversation cards. There's 3 questions on each. And I'll be honest, generally speaking, even though we'll put them down in front of everybody, it normally only takes 1 or 2 conversations, 1 or 2 questions for you to be off, and conversation will just be absolutely flowing. But you will have those first of all to help you just ease into the chat with everybody. We will then put round a picture round of a quiz. And again, this is very much optional, but it just gives you something to do. It gives you an idea of what others in the space are interested in. Then there'll be a quiz box, and we'll make a member on the table the quiz master, which sounds scary. It's actually the easiest role there is, because as quiz master, you can see both the questions on the card and the answer. And whoever says the right answer on your table gets the card. So it's just a little game again. Get to know people, get to know what their interests are, gives you something to do. And then the last stage is, or the last sort of formal stage, if you like, is games. So anything from, Uno, Double, Cards Against Humanity, packs of cards. You can choose what you'd like to play. And again, it's just about helping to kind of break any tension, any nerves that there might be, and get to know people in a more relaxed way. Between every one of those stages, we will swap you round. So the event host will swap you round so that through the course of the evening, you get to meet everybody at the event. This is the main thing that I run, the singles nights. There is speed dating and parties as well, which I will talk about in a future episode. But this is the kind of main basis of what you can expect. At the very end of the night, when you finish playing games, we will try and get everybody up, moving around the space so that you can have a chat with anybody who has caught your eye. If you'd like to know more, I will pop a link in the description box just so that you can see where upcoming singles nights are, and you can read the full event description in more detail. My email is also in there, so if you've got any questions, you are of course more than welcome to get in touch with me. And if it's something that feels right to you, and only if it is, I look forward to seeing you at a singles night very soon. Make sure you're subscribed and follow along for more episodes. See you in the next one.